And we're live. Welcome, everybody. This is a Swapcast, actually, and I'm one of the hosts. I don't know how to fucking introduce Swapcast, so I'm Nate from the Reality Czars. I'm really stoked to be here. I'm also talking here with Mystery Mike and Declassified Dave. Gents, you guys want to start it out? Declassified Dave, I think you were going to do the plugs, right?
Yeah, we are 2/3 of the Hush Hush Society Conspiracy Hour. We're missing our defunct CIA operative, Slick Rock Sanders. And if you want to find everything about us, first and foremost, you can go to hushhushsociety.com. You can find all of our episodes. You can read through blogs. You can purchase merchandise. You can read through some of reviews. You can leave your own reviews and ratings. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that other stuff. We have a Patreon, $5 a month. You get some pretty sweet deals. But if you have listened to us before, you don't need to listen to me. We are a conspiracy-based podcast that talk about fringe science, paranormal, UFOs, cryptids. Nothing is off the table, as we said before in our previous conversation. So check us out, www.hushhushsociety.com, and enjoy my glistening face during this entire thing because I am sweating.
Dude, it's fucking ridiculously hot. Yeah, man, I'm stoked to talk to your audience too. My name's Nate. I've done a lot of fucking shows. I'm one half of my fucking team too. Tony, I think, is probably at work right now. So our show is fun. We talk about anything and everything. We talk about economics, politics, libertarian bullshit. But for the most part, we're truthers too. So we're talking about like how the government is fucking you and how they're probably reptiles and pedophiles and they're fucking eating kids and stuff. We go everywhere. We just put out a Bigfoot documentary. So if you guys want to check that out, you can find that on our Rockfin. Our show is also on Rockfin. So go follow us over there and show us some love. And we put out 2 to 3 episodes every week, and we just have fun. So I hope you guys can find us. I don't have a website. I really should put one together. I'm also figuring out how to put together like a Patreon and stuff. Like I think this weekend too, I'm actually working with somebody that's working on merch. So I'm really just getting my shit together. It's really what it is. So look out for all those fun things. And thanks guys. This is fun. Let's talk.
Yeah, let's get into it.
I love your artwork. First and foremost, it's really awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Cool. Shout out to Bags, man. You can find him on Instagram. He's the man. He does like a lot of people's artwork. He's the shit, dude. He does like OBDM and like all those guys. I reached out to him and he hooked me up. Yeah, he's the man. So shout out to Bags.
Yeah, we were talking about your artwork earlier before we got going. So we dig it.
Okay, brother.
So what did you want to talk about today? What do you want to dive into? You want to talk cryptids? You talked about releasing a Bigfoot documentary. So let's dive into cryptids. Let's talk about Bigfoot. I don't think we talked about Bigfoot yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fucking diverse topic, and there's so many people that are either like stuck. They have like their heels in the ground, and they're like, Bigfoot is exclusively a flesh and blood creature. He's a hominid, and he's just like a wild monkey that lives out in the woods. Or there are folks like me that think that he's something much closer to something interdimensional. And but I'm open-minded, man. I'm not one of those folks. Like as soon as we reach out to a lot of really cool people in the Bigfoot community, and like. Half of them embraced us, and half of them are like, "What do you mean you think Bigfoot's psychic?" I'm like, so it's whatever, man.
We actually just recently had Alexander Petrikov.
He's going to be so mad at you for that.
I know he's going to be pissed. But he's a Sasquatch hunter. He is an outdoorsman. He's a filmmaker. He's part of the Small Town Monsters film crew. They make documentaries about cryptids, and he is mainly kind of along the lines of Sasquatch. And during our interview with him, I mean, he told some wild stories, and he's been to some great places. He talked about being out in the vast wilderness of Alaska. I mean, the places where nobody lives. He's talked about Oregon and Washington and a bunch of different state parks that he was, he explored.
We're up
And
here in Oregon. That's what
yeah.
yeah.
And
he had a very strange encounter in the forests east of Portland.
Yes. Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah, where he ran into supposed Satanists.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting
probably like near Mount Hood. Is that where he is at?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, that's what he was mentioning. Yep. So he's told us a bunch of really, really great stories. But he let us in on some information that I personally didn't know about, is like CBOM. Have you ever heard of CBOM?
No.
So CBOM, he says, is like an oily, like tar type residue that supposedly is in the palms of Sasquatch.
He said certain chimpanzees have it as well. Some type of or certain type of hominids also.
So it's like it's almost like a sticky substance, almost like pine tar.
Interesting.
And he was telling a story about them finding some handprints on the side of like a tin building out in the middle of nowhere, and they tried to replicate it with their hands, and it was like a really weird setup with the finger. The thumb was kind of like really extended and in an awkward angle, and they just really couldn't figure it out. And of course, it's made with this oily substance. And I had never heard of it. We've covered cryptids, obviously. Like I said, we haven't gotten into Bigfoot or anything, but very, very interesting stuff. And he talked about wood knocks in the woods, where they're pretty much pounding against trees.
Yeah.
And making, it's almost like
they strip the bark first, which is interesting. Yeah. And we found a lot of trees stripped of bark, and it wasn't on the main road, the trees were had all their bark. But when you'd go off trail and you were going into these weird areas, we just found tons of trees that were broken, just like snapped in half and like put in awkward positions that like aren't natural, into like crosses and odd things, and tons of trees that are just stripped of bark. And it's like their cell phones out there, how they can like call each other and communicate.
Yeah. We had talked, we always kind of bring it up is when we're talking about cryptids in general. And you had mentioned it, is kind of the thought that maybe they are an ultra dimensional or interdimensional kind of being. And it goes hand in hand with how they're sighted and how sparse the sightings are, and how they could be in one place 1 minute and gone the next. And it kind of lines up with it. We've been talking since, I believe, season 1, when we started talking about Mothman, is the ability or the probability that cryptids around certain areas, mainly high energy or high explosive areas, are more commonly found. So the TNT area for Mothman, and you look at these other maybe missile testing sites, you see a lot of cryptid sightings around these different areas. Does that have something to do with the cryptid itself? Is there a reason why we're seeing cryptids in those particular areas? And is it causation or correlation? Like, what, we don't know, but it's I think it's possible. I think it's possible that it definitely has something to do with some type of energy, especially when it comes to those appearances of cryptids.
Yeah, it's fascinating, man. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of these things that it's like there are these orbs and UFOs that for some reason will, like, I've heard credible statements from folks that were in the military that will talk about, like, if we're moving a piece of equipment and it has a nuke on it, orbs are fucking following us. There's just something about it. It's something like, maybe I don't know if they have motivations, like they don't want us to destroy ourselves or something like that. It seems that they seem to like disable things when and screw with things when people are, you know, getting heavy-handed. I don't know, man. It's a fascinating idea.
A lot of people talk about UFO sightings going hand in hand with Sasquatch sightings as well. But I think if you have, obviously the general consensus now is that most UFOs that you see, not all, but most, are not man-made origin. I mean, our government has accepted it, and maybe it's a bunch of fluff, maybe it's not. But I personally believe that with those sightings, I mean, if there is an intelligence that's poking around us, whether it be from Earth, under the ocean, or space, or inside the planet, wouldn't they be very interested in a very rare, is super intelligent, upright, hairy hominid that's a part of maybe human lineage at some point in the past? Because I've always thought too, especially with the areas that we find Sasquatch sightings, the big dominant areas, that's where you have the bigger wildernesses, and especially in California with the redwoods. I mean, larger entities, larger trees, larger environments. It's just, I don't know. I don't particularly believe that the UFOs are teleporting Sasquatch into the woods. I think, but they would be very interested in seeing this extremely elusive creature that is able to hide from a creature like us, which is not elusive at all. We're just like in your face all the time. So, but there's a lot of land out there, so it's interesting shit, man. Bigfoot, I want to get more and more and more into Bigfoot, I think.
Yeah. Bigfoot's an interesting one, man. I was talking to a guy yesterday who's really into, I don't know if you guys have touched on the secret space program and different things like that. And he was talking to me about how, okay, so long story short, we went to battle with the reptilians, who were like ultimately, they were the first, I don't know, they're native to Earth, right? And so we got fucked with, right? We got screwed with genetically, right? So it's almost like an Anunnaki thing. Like the lizard folks were the Anunnaki. Then they had different things like the Ajiji, you know, and the Adame, those little different groups and stuff that anyways. But long story short, these giants that I'm sure you guys have seen, like, you know, about or heard about, at least, like the giant skeletons and all those things that, all of those giants are the Bigfoot. The Bigfoot are those giants. They have lived amongst us. And when we ultimately beat back the reptilians somehow, we did it with those guys. And so, like, they have complex societies that live amongst us, and we don't even fucking know it. Like, that's how he was trying to explain Bigfoot to me. And that when we do run into a Bigfoot randomly in the middle of the woods, that's, like he says, those are like their version of homeless people. Which I thought was really funny, and that's cool. So, and that, oh man, what was the other thing? Anyways, that they are flying those orbs and saucers, and he says, like, they're going on vacation and stuff. They go out into the woods and stuff, and they're flying those things. I can't say that that's true, but that's fascinating as fuck. Yeah, I love it.
That's a wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Realistically, you know, and I think it's always kind of mentioned is that, you know, it's all theories. It's theorizing. Mm-hmm. So you can play that out as far as you really want. If aliens exist, if extraterrestrials are a thing, and UFOs are a thing, and UAPs are a thing, you know, who's to say that Bigfoot isn't some sort of extraterrestrial? Who's to say that they are native to Earth? The same with Mothman or any other cryptid. It's if you can stretch your mind as far as to say there is cryptids that exist, if you can stretch your mind as far as to say that there are UFOs and extraterrestrials, then you can theorize any of that stuff and smush them all together realistically. So I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility, especially within the realm of theorizing.
Definitely within the realm of theorizing. Yeah, and it's a lot of fun, man. Like, but I guess kind of where I've kind of come down to this, it's like to deny that Bigfoot exists is kind of an assholish thing to do. It's just because like so many cultures around the world fucking describe this big hairy hominid, whatever he is, and there's been so many sightings like forever, and so there's definitely something to it. Now I can't claim that I know what it is, but it's something that like. I do think that it's the same thing with like the Fae, the fairies, and things like that, with ghosts, with these angels, with these demons, with these aliens. I almost think that these are all maybe either one entity or all a similar thing. And that we're all getting these different experiences. And it's like it can probably come to us the way that we can receive it, right? Like something that we can understand. And so like for some folks that would come in the form of like a fairy, but like some folks it might come to me as like my grandma that died, and I don't know, man. It's an interesting thing, but I think that there's definitely a big connection between all of these like paranormal things. And it really, to me, it comes down to interdimensionality, how they can just be here and then just disappear like within an instant. And we are all experiencing a lot of these things. Like it's not even crazy for people to talk about like UFO experiences at this point. I've seen orbs, I've seen these things in the sky, and I don't even sound crazy anymore because so many people have seen them at this point. It's
the stigma is washing off a little bit with that. But Bigfoot, you're still psycho. If you talk about Bigfoot,
but you're a harmless psycho. Like when people get excited when I tell them I'm into Bigfoot and I'm doing a Bigfoot documentary, they're like, "Oh, that's great!" Like they're just like, "You're silly and stupid," but like
get back in the woods.
I'm harmless. They're just like, "Oh, that goofball."
Yeah, and on the other hand, if you were to say, "Yeah, I'm doing a UFO documentary. I'm doing an extraterrestrial documentary," they'd be like, "Oh, okay." It's still harmless, but at the same time it's that you're a little crazy for thinking that, and I don't know. I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy at all. Like you said, even if you want to keep it very terrestrial, if you want to keep it earthbound, it's not that difficult to look at it and say, okay, this is just a species of animal that we haven't encountered, that we haven't had the chance to study. Think of how many thousands of other species of animals in the ocean that we've never found and never been able to study. And we're finding new species of animals pretty much weekly. So it's like you don't really have to stretch your mind that far. All you have to do is classify it under this is something that we haven't had the chance to really get up close and take a look at.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. It's like, God, dude, nature is way bigger than we give it credit for, dude. Like,
exactly.
There was these explorers that were looking for these elephants, and they were looking for these elephants in the middle, like in the Congo, and they couldn't find them. And they realized, I think at like the end, like the last day, that they were literally on the other side of these like trees, and they had been there, these big, giant fucking elephants, and they had been that close the whole time. And it's like that has to like for them to those monster giant animals over there, for them to hide that well, it's like it leaves the door open for cryptids in a physical sense. Like it totally leaves, especially if they are as intelligent as us.
Yeah, look at how many species there are, like you said, on the planet. One undiscovered and discovered. I mean, so many. Like, I mean, if something had even close intelligence to us, but looked far-fetched, like something like Mothman or something like that. Imagine how elusive that thing could actually be, because people can hide. There's just so many of us, so it's hard to hide. But then you think about all the people that are, like Alex said this and made a really good point, is that most of the people that are out in these backwood areas that are really experienced backpackers and hikers and outdoorsmen, they see this stuff. And it's just kind of like the same thing where you talk to a trucker and it's like, I've seen lights in the sky all the time.
Yeah.
It's these people are professional. They're professionals in where they go and where they venture off to, and seeing something like lights in the sky that's not an airplane, or something that's almost 10 feet tall throwing rocks at you from across a river. And now with cell phones, these people should be taken seriously. And like Mike, you said,
Mhm.
I think it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that there's something just lurking, especially even if there's a medium-sized number of them in just North America. But
Yeah, it's interesting, dude. And like one of the points that the dude was talking to me about is like uh, these things too. It's like they live in the most inhospitable places, and they seem to have like, yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but like they're living in the Himalaya, like the Yeti. They're living like all these places that we can't find them. And man, what was the other point I had? I don't know. I have ADHD. Sorry, guys. But yeah, man, it's fun. I'm typically one of those people that like I don't know if you've heard that term where the space is fake and gay. I'm typically one of those dudes that like I don't think that we've been to the moon. I don't think we can get outside of this firmament, whatever that like project. What was that fishbowl? You know that thing. I don't think we can get out of that. But like, so whatever these things are, I think they have to be ultra terrestrial, in my opinion. Like, I think that they're here amongst us, but maybe not in a way that like we can experience. So I mean, it's something like okay, like this is like everyone talks about this, but like if you take DMT and you start to see those like machine elves and those different things, those like creatures that are in this other place, people will describe that as like it feeling more real than here, and it's like I think that I like it's something like with a near death experience too, where your brain drops a bunch of endogenous DMT and maybe that is like the gateway to the next, wherever you go. Right. And so I think that there are like, because right now I kind of feel like that we're just like these bizarre spiritual things inside of a meat suit. Right. And I think that when we leave, we go somewhere else. Right. I think that part is eternal. The whatever us spark consciousness, whatever we are, that our soul, our spirit. And so maybe we get to go and experience those other weird little realms afterward. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
we just had a conversation with a guest
Talking
like
a lot about souls today in consciousness.
4 hours ago about
Yeah.
astral projection and
I love
and consciousness. Yeah, I think the way that he put it, I wouldn't say it was bleak, but the way he put it is that we are in the worst possible realm in our physical bodies to be in.
Was he a Gnostic?
No, I don't
Okay,
believe so.
yeah.
He's just very, very, very well adversed. Couple decades of astral projection and lucid dreaming.
Because
So-
I love it here. I think this place is great. I know a lot of people call this a prison planet. I'm like, this is a pretty fucking sweet prison. I like it.
It's hot, right? It's a hot prison right now.
It's hot, but dude, I'm
like.
like 20 minutes away from the river right down there. Like, I'm also like 10 minutes away from this beautiful, gigantic fucking forest. Like, I like it here. I'm enjoying it. But
Yeah.
I've got kids and a beautiful wife. Like, I think this prison is great. But
I think it's
That's
all location, right?
yeah, there you go. Yeah, because at the same time, right, it has to be. There has to be that balance. There's the best things like you can imagine here, and then absolutely the worst. Right. And I think that you can also create like this place can be hell. You can make this place hell. You can make it with your attitude, the way that you see things, the way that you accept things, the way that you can hold on to things and be like angry and bitter and then you can make really stupid fucking decisions and you can make your life hell, or you can make this place fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then there's just unfortunate accidents that happen to people, and then like that just fucking sucks. And maybe that's what your friend's talking about. Like, we're in the absolute worst place to be in a flesh suit, I guess. Like shitty things can happen. I don't know.
No, that was just my perception of it. The way that you were
Okay.
saying is that like this is if the realm that the physical body that we're in as human beings, at least in this reality, is the lowest place you can go. And if you ascend even a little bit, it's still darker than the highest point you can ascend within your
Interesting.
consciousness. Yeah, it was very, very interesting. But you did mention something about the moon landings, and
Yeah.
we haven't talked about this in a while, and I really think it should be talked about, considering that NASA just scrubbed the Artemis launch because they forgot to put rocket fuel in the thing, or it wasn't cooling properly because I don't know. I just feel like
They forgot to hook up one of the AC vents.
yeah, like over the years, I'm not saying I'm becoming a flat earther, but over the years, I have definitely gained a different perspective on the fact.
Flat
if we
earthers
read-
make great points. They have fantastic critiques. Their answers aren't always the best. I've had some great flat earthers on here, some really smart folks, and they make some solid fucking points. I've talked with David Weiss. I've talked with Sean Hibbler. I've talked with lots of really interesting, smart fucking people, and they're fucking brilliant, dude. Sometimes they are literally the smartest person in the room because they study this shit.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
fucking
they-
smart. Like I love. I have a huge flat Earth audience, and I love those guys. Sometimes they get mad about stuff, but that's okay.
We have to revisit flat Earth because when we did it back in 2021, we took a fat lava dump on top of flat Earth.
Yeah.
We didn't give it its justice we should, and we were in the far stages back of talking about it, and more of and we accept it. We joked about it, and we were douche noodles, and we weren't the best of folks on it. But we live and learn. We're probably going to revisit it again, but with the
Dude, I've got a great guy if you want to talk to. My buddy Moral Bob. Fucking smart, really fucking friendly, cool ass dude. And he'll red pill the shit on you guys.
The problem that I always find when it comes to flat earthers or the argument for a flat earth is that it's always, well, what about this? And then you give them an answer for what they're questioning. Well, what about this? And then you give them an answer, and then it goes on and on and on like that. And then it's either, well, that's what the elites, or that's what the government, or that's what the powers that be want you to believe. That's not really what the science is. So it's like you could do that literally with anything. And then on the other end of it, you have somebody who goes, okay, yeah. The science explains it away. Okay. What about God? And as soon as somebody introduces that, it's not what about God? It's, well, the Bible says. I'm sorry. And we've talked about it in ad nauseum. The Bible has been translated fucking 200 different times from
Moral
30
Bob
different
is
languages.
not a Christian. He will have that conversation because I've had actually an awesome guy, love him, Josh Monday.
both sides.
Yeah, where he gave me biblical version of flat Earth, and it was great. For some reason, that got me a fucking strike on YouTube. I talk about everything. I'll talk about I'll say Bill Gates is a fat tranny with tits that wants to give everyone AIDS with the vaccine. That won't do anything. But we talked about biblical flat Earth. That got me a strike.
Yeah, you get bullying.
We got a cyberbullying strike because we cyberbullied John Podesta. So that was
Good.
that.
Good.
And we've also had David Icke, which got us that episode taken off YouTube very quickly.
I didn't even put him on YouTube. I had him on as well. Yeah, I didn't put him on YouTube. Rockfin all the way.
But my question is, since my belief has changed with the moon landings, I don't think we've been there. I mean, I
don't think so either.
The rhetoric and the game plan afterwards is let's do less things. And I don't want to discredit the space shuttle. I think the space shuttle is probably a really, really cool piece of engineering, but whatever it is, I'm not as far down the hole of where people are like, oh, they're balloons with fireworks at the end of them and they just float them up.
They do use a lot of helium.
They do.
Helium.
NASA is the largest producer or consumer of helium on the planet, which is interesting. But
it's a big Mylar balloon.
But see, that's the problem. I want to talk about the moon landings, not about flat Earth. So that's where my belief has gone from fuck yeah, we went to the moon, and then it's learning other, even just small science things like the Van Allen radiation belts. It's well, how do we do that? And then hearing weird stuff where it's well, how did we distribute this live when there's people in this country now who can't even stream cable TV, in 2022? And then who took this picture, if that's the first person that's been there, and we lost the technology. And now we
recorded over the tapes, and
yeah. Somebody put them, so they were at Mar-a-Lago or whatever. We found them, it's that's the stuff where it's just been and then most recent, a lot of these feeds, people are oh, it's coming from space. And it's yeah, but I just saw a video of people on the ISS where they have a glass of water, and it's in the fucking glass of water.
Dude,
And I
how
was like,
about
wait,
this
that's
one?
not
It's
right.
like they're showing like the Mars rover, and you're looking at it, and then a fly buzzes off of it. So we've either made the most fantastic discovery ever. Holy shit, there's life on Mars.
Moonflies.
Yeah, moonfly. Yeah, or you guys are fucking liars. And see, this is where like I have to give all the flat earthers the credit is like, and that's why I say they make fantastic critiques because like NASA lies so much that
Yeah.
like you can just point. It's shooting fish in a barrel because
Well, they
they're such
are.
fucking liars, man.
They are
Yeah.
the rebranded Fourth Reich. So
Yep.
I just think it's more of an argument for NASA being shitty than it is for flat Earth. I'm the type of person I look at everything very critically, and I look at the science behind
You're a
the
globe tard.
argument for yeah, I totally am, and I'm proud of it. But I think when the argument comes down to, well, look at what NASA does, you know, they take composite images of the Earth and they take composite images of this and that. Look at what the James Webb Telescope sent back. It's bullshit. Blah blah blah. Again, I think that's more of an argument for NASA being a shitty administration. It was founded and built by fucking Nazis. I don't think even, here we are 60, 70, 80 years later, I don't think that they're the most honest administration out there or entity out there.
what are you talking about?
Come
on.
I fully believe that NASA is a piece of shit lying fucking organization. But again, that's not an argument for flat Earth.
But you have to think too, a lot of the arguments that come back with that is, well, why would they fake it? And then it all circles back to control. We don't want the powers that be don't want you to believe, like what you said, Nate, a little earlier, is the ability to get through our higher consciousness, because we do have a lot more to us than just the flesh prison on the flesh moon Earth Saturn matrix. So like,
Yeah.
You're by reptilians, sucking
Yeah.
our kids' bloods and shit.
Sucking our kids' bloods and just like hijacking our loosh. I mean, there really is something to that. Where these these folks, I mean, they feed off our fucking negative energy. Like, this is basically based off the conversation I had with David Icke about that stuff, like those lower entity beings that are just like feeding off of our negative energy. And like, so whether that's physically happening or they really are just controlling us that way because they can just like through the media, they can like make us vibrate at these lower frequencies. They want us afraid. They want us angry. They want us like upset, jealous, pissed, divided, hating each other. And so we never see who's fucking actually in charge, who's actually oppressing us, who's actually keeping us like, And so I think that there is definitely something to that. And I think that like they do want us to think very much so that we are on a random ball. We're a bunch of monkeys stuck to it. It's flying randomly through space. Everything just happened out of fucking nowhere. You're like, there's nothing at the end of this. When you die, nothing matters. Like anything you do here, it doesn't fucking matter. You're fucking pointless. You're worthless. Look how small you are compared to the vastness of this unlimited space. Like, I think a lot of that is fucking bullshit. I don't know, but I do know that this Earth, when I'm looking at the fucking stars, they're not blurring in the sky. I think that we're in a fucking stationless moving. I don't think the Earth is moving. I legitimately don't. I have no idea. I'm not saying this place is flat. Maybe it's a ball. Maybe it's hollow like a fucking donut. I've had those conversations. Those are fun too. Maybe this really is a fucking simulation, but it doesn't feel like we're spinning at 17 miles an hour going 70 miles an hour going this way and 17. I don't know.
Supposed to be, I think, one.
Got another comment. Hashtag flat Earth fam. All right. What's up, Monk Man? We love you.
1,000 miles an hour, the Earth, and then supposedly the Earth's moving at like 66.6 thousand miles an hour.
Yeah, it's always 66.6.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. That's that, right.
Hail Satan.
Yeah, it always is, dude.
But
they have to split that shit in.
Okay. My question is,
mm-hmm.
Assuming that 99.9% of the population of the Earth thinks that it's a globe, don't we already think along those lines? Don't we already feel like shit? Don't we already, on the other end of it, feel good and believe in a god? I mean,
Well,
look
it
at
really
the
comes down to what are they
entirety of
hiding? So, like,
well,
I love the flat earthers when they start talking about this because this is my favorite thing in the whole world, that we're on an unlimited plane and that there's extra continents. I want that to be true as a motherfucker. I want to be able to
That
go
would
and
be
have my
that would
own.
be wild if it was
Yeah.
true. Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
just
mean,
past the ice wall, dog. We just got to get past there. There's dinosaurs and sea monsters. Maybe dinosaurs. I don't even believe in dinosaurs either. So maybe I'm a
that's one we'd like to dig into at some point. Yeah.
they're all
I just don't. I don't believe it the way they're telling it. So I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. And maybe there were like pterodactyls or something, but like Tyrannosaurus Rex literally wouldn't work. Like with what they call gravity, how big he is, how he stands up, how he would eat, how he do. Like that doesn't make sense. He's a fucking like a blue whale on land. Like it doesn't make sense. Like he would get crushed. It doesn't. They're hiding giants' bones. Is what those fucking dinosaurs' bones are.
I think
Tomorrow-
there is some weight to the dinosaur I think thing. I mean, realistically, my biggest argument with the dinosaur thing is, well, we find all these dinosaur bones that aren't actually bones, they're fossilized bones. We get the process that turns them into fossils, and we all have to become scientists to understand it. And
We don't have a full skeleton of any dinosaur. There's like 11 bones of T-Rex, and you're telling me they make up the rest of them and go, this is how he'd fit together. So we're just putting together a puzzle, and we're pretending pieces exist. It's bullshit.
And I
don't know what it is.
The little arms are facing the wrong way. Did you see that one? Yeah.
No.
So
Wings
like
with
T-Rex
claws?
arms, they're really small. You know, we all know the T-Rex arms.
Yeah.
And realistically, they have them set up the wrong way. So if you flip them, what it looks like is the beginnings of wings.
Should
So
make sense. And they're
the
giant
arms,
chickens, right?
if you turn them, the arms are more likely wings.
That makes sense.
Now that's terrifying.
More
And
sense.
imagine
Well, that
a
would
fucking
make-
T-Rex with wings.
That would make more sense with all the accounts of flying reptilian dragons and all that type of
Dragons,
stuff in
yeah.
ancient.
That's it.
See, that's the thing though. If we're talking about how many of these dinosaurs are we finding, you know, but where are all the people that were supposed to be here too? You know, we're not finding that fossil evidence. We are, but not to the point of where you're finding these, you know, where people maybe not have been fully centralized, you know, on the planet at that time.
Dude, is these old men, they plant their fucking feet in the ground, and they say like there's no way Earth was older than X. And so if they do find fossils, they will find fossils of like humans. They're like, well, the carbon dating's off. That can't be because we're only like 6,000 years old or something. And then you go find something like Göbekli Tepe or something that like almost proves humanity's been around in building cities, you know, like 13 to 30,000 years ago or something. And these people freak out. They don't want to hear it. So it's like the COVID shit. It's like these scientists, they fucking paint a box. They say, this is it. And if you try to go outside that box, they shut you down. And so, I mean, it's more religion. To me, that's religion.
It's all the suppression of the truth and information, and that always brings down. It really does. Every time I've ever done any research, like I wanted to talk about the moon landings here. We're talking
No, we're talking about dinosaurs.
It's all good. But every time you talk about the moon landings, it goes to flat Earth, and every time you talk about dinosaurs, it goes right to that same pinnacle. So like we really should remake the iceberg chart and just have the bottom be flat Earth. Everything goes down. It's like all conspiracies lead to Nazis. It's the same type of thing. So all real fringe conspiracies lead to the stages of becoming a flat earther. It's just what depth you're at.
Or the stages of becoming a Nazi.
Yeah. I just think I guess like closing out the moon thing, I don't think we went to the moon, whether there's a firmament or not. The lies and the bullshit of saying we lost technology when your smartwatch could probably power the computer that went to the moon. And
we had to rebuild that technology, David.
Oh yeah, if they did, yeah, we got to build a computer the size of this room and throw it in a rocket.
Or we made it the first time in 1969. And we just went up there. It was great. No fucking problem. Have you heard the theory? And this one is fun, that we actually did send people up there. We couldn't get them back And so like
Ooh.
that's why we filmed all of that shit. And then like those guys like Neil Armstrong, all those guys are actors. And
Yeah,
they have to
they
have
weren't
to
really
live
there.
with that lie. And that's why like Homie was trying to get him to swear on Bibles. Did you go to the moon? And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like punched him in the face and all that
And
fun
why they
stuff.
were acting weird when they came back.
Yeah.
Well, Buzz
They're the
Aldrin
first
kind of,
crisis actors,
he's kind of lost it. I mean, I think there's an interview of him with like a 6-year-old girl that's like, "Did you go to the moon?" And he goes, "Well, no, we didn't go."
The moon?
And I was like, "Is the man senile, or did he just like is now he's just at the point where he's like, you guys can just whack me off. My knees are fucked. My back hurts. I'm missing all my teeth. I'm 96 something years old." And but or they went to the moon and they found something that was fucked up, and they were like, nope, wash it, get rid of it, get rid of all this giant tin foils and gold plated tin foiled erector set and throw it out.
Yep.
Let's build a spaceship from a movie and just call it a giant school bus and make it work.
Kubrick.
Yep.
Yeah,
it was all faked, man. I mean, and Werner von Braun and Kubrick, they were all working with Disney, and they like made a bunch of bullshit. And like, it's funny, dude. Like that was a big one. Like talking to my mom about that because like my grandfather was an actual rocket scientist, so her dad was a fucking rocket scientist and worked with and knew Werner von Braun and had Werner von Braun come to her classroom as a kid and tell him all about the fucking moon landing and shit and about rockets and all that kind of stuff. So my mom was like all in, but my mom's also like a giant fucking Zionist, like a Christian Zionist, and loves Israel and stuff. And I was like trying to explain to her, I was like, you know that Werner von Braun was a fucking SS officer and a Nazi? And like, dude, I shattered her childhood. It was
Yeah. How about like every
Some
founding
motherfucker.
scientist of NASA?
yeah. There's some of those. Oh, was it the director of space or something like that for what the Johnson Space Center or something in Florida is what is another SS and SA member, and dude had fucking dueling scars all over his face. Like the guy was a
those are dope.
hardcore Nazi,
Yeah.
man. Like, and they're just, but we talk about it on our Operation Paperclip episode that we recently dropped, where, I mean, as fucked up as it is that we did that, our country, if we didn't, somebody else was, and somebody else did. I mean, the Russians got them, the UK has them, they're allies. We're all kind of allies.
I mean, this isn't even like a fucking conspiracy at this point.
No.
It's like they
No,
had,
that's truth.
but more so than that, like those German scientists were working on like nerve agents and stuff. Like they invented like sarin, but then they had something even more hardcore, and it was like they were doing these crazy fucking experiments. And it was like if we didn't grab, I mean, whatever, but if we hadn't grabbed them, the Russians would have, and
they would have all.
I mean, the Russians did grab a bunch too, but
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah.
They would have got Werner von Braun, and we would have been a little bit.
Then they would have got to pretend to have gone to the moon, and they would have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their
You got a
giant
whole
disco,
team of free agents.
their giant disco ball Sputnik they sent up, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, we have to go to the moon now!" Like, it's
I don't
Space
think the
race is
Russians
wild.
have ever been to space.
no.
No,
Well, we're
I don't
using
think
their-
any of us
we're
have been to
using-
space. To be honest, dude, I don't think we're in space right now. I think the ISS is somewhere in like Nevada or something, and they're just like farting around, having fun, and just
It's in
They
an
just have a good time.
Olympic-sized pool.
It's just in a
Yeah.
pool.
It's in a pool.
dude.
It's in a green-lined
Have you also
pool.
seen those fucking? Have you seen those fucking photos of like this lady, and she's supposedly in the ISS. She like throws something up, and then they shoot it, or they show the other video with her, and she's in a green screen, and somebody's like picking it up and
Yeah.
moving it around and stuff. Like,
It's on a stick.
yeah, it's all horseshit, man.
Yeah.
It's all horseshit.
Again, I think that's an argument for a shitty NASA.
Well, dude, can you think of a better fucking scam? How many millions do they burn through every single day? It's like 10 million a day or
Yeah.
something like that. And
Yeah.
and they just get to fucking milk the government, milk us, rather. All the taxpayers just swimming in fucking money. And so they have to like come up with shit to justify why they should still exist. And now we have fucking Space Force, which is super gay. And
Space Force is on a. I saw a USAA ad the other day, and Space Force is now listed on the
hell yeah.
the for the people with
I'm a
benefits.
Space Force veteran.
Well, you mentioned. Well, I was actually talking to
Fought in the Space Wars.
talking to some other folks that we know that just got out of the
Thank me
Navy,
for my service.
and they're one of the guys that's still in the Navy, and he's based out of California. He says that he sees like 1 or 2 a month. He'll see like Space Force personnel with like their uniforms on and stuff. It's not like the elaborate ones that they had on Netflix, which were funny as hell.
Yeah.
But speaking of Space Force, I mean, we got to think about it. NASA's milking us, but think about that $21 trillion as of 2020 that is missing from the Pentagon can't account for. And then on top of it, the 2.3 or 2.1 trillion dollars that went missing the day before 9/11. And a lot of that we talked about, like you mentioned, secret space program. A lot of that we talked about in our secret space program episode, even in portions of our 9/11 series, where'd that money go? If it didn't go to, like, it's not just going to military and defense in battlefields here on Earth or Afghanistan or anything like that, or undersea warfare. It's going either up or really down, whatever it is. It's that money is.
Or on the other end of it, NASA is one of the biggest fucking embezzling organizations in the world. We're giving billions of dollars to NASA when in reality it's going towards the military industrial complex through a back door. We don't have to put it on the books. We say, yeah, this is going towards space exploration. Let's give $5 trillion towards the International Space Station, and we need to build more rockets, and we need to fund more astronaut programs. When in reality, it's all going towards warheads and new tanks. And here's a couple A-10 Warthogs, and that's all stuff that's off the books.
You don't think the bulk of it's going to like technology with that type of warfare, like like psyop,
space lasers?
Space lasers.
I don't know, man. I think they have a lot of fucking technology that we don't even know about, and I don't know what they do with the majority of it. Besides, maybe they just like fucking clone a bunch of kids and just farm them for fucking adrenochrome and do all kinds of, I don't know. I mean, these people are just sick fucks. I don't know what they do with all that money. If Joe Biden is a clone, man, they really fucked up on that one.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier on another episode we had where we were on someone else's show that if it was like Mitch McConnell, they fucked up on that one because this guy's skin is just melting off his skeleton and his muscular structure. It's terrible. Like,
Nancy Pelosi.
Biden, she's
scary.
Yeah, she's scary. But yeah, Biden, seeing pictures of Biden over the course of the last couple of years, and maybe an 8-year period, he's looked dramatically different. And there's that meme that's circulating where it's like regular Biden, and then it says like
great value Biden.
Yeah, great value Biden, and then like falling upstairs Biden, and then like Crypt Keeper Biden, like it's Crypt Keeper reptilian Biden, where it's just like the guy's either old as fuck and deteriorating at a astronomical rate, or the conspiracy theorist in me says that he's dead and they're using somebody else with a mask. And
it's like that it's like when they do it's like when they do the comparison of Star Wars and they talk about Obi-Wan. They're like, yeah, this is Obi-Wan, and they show young Obi-Wan, and then they're like 10 years later and it's fucking Alec McGinnis, and he's like 40 years older and decrepit old man. It's the same for Biden. They're just like, yeah, here's 50-year-old Biden, and then you show like here's 94-year-old Biden 7 years later.
Well, it's always with that slow disclosure, right? Where they give us a piece of like technology, they tell us that this is like, hey, we're just experimenting with this, and so when it comes to light for us, it means that they've been doing this for 10 years and they got it down, right? So it's something like where the Chinese scientists and they fucking killed a bunch of pigs, and then they were able to reanimate their brains and fire them up again and things like that. Like, what do you think the chances are that Joe Biden, like you said, is actually dead, and and they're animating his corpse and they're pumping his brain full of adrenochrome and all kinds of crazy like drugs, just trying to keep him, and that's why he's up there. He's like, he just act like a goofball and saying dumb shit. He's a zombie.
Should
And
I read
Kamala
the whole
Harris
cue
is
card?
that terrible that they're like, okay, we'll roll with a zombie for right now because we don't want to fucking. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are controlling some of the most powerful decisions that affect all of us, and they are all on death's door. It's
Dude, and if you
unbelievable.
think those people actually have any power, like I don't think the Congress has any power. I don't think our presidents
No.
have any fucking power.
Oh,
They're
no.
figureheads. That's who we get to vote for. We get to get all pissed at each other and fight each other and be like, MAGA. No, I fucking think Joe Biden the pedophile, and then you guys get to fight with each other, and it's fucking bread and circus, dude. And really, like, probably it's these giant fucking mega corporations that are making huge amounts of money, and these fucking bankers that are doing all this crazy shit. They're the ones that are actually in charge, and they get to pick who, like, I don't know, like who will play ball. Because I don't think you even get to be one of the people to be in the running for president unless you're bought, sold, and paid for.
Yeah. So look at it this way. The people that are actually in charge, let's call them the shadow government for all intent and purpose. The people that are actually in charge, you don't know who they are. You know, we all spout the same names. We say the Illuminati, we say the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, whoever it may be. And then take a step further inward and think about the family. Have you ever heard of the family? 99% of people have never heard of the family, but they made a Netflix fucking documentary on the people and on the group.
Frightening.
Now you've never heard of the family. They made a Netflix documentary on it. Now think of the people that you've never heard of that Netflix isn't going to make a documentary on. Nobody knows their names. Nobody knows their faces. Nobody knows that they're involved in these schemes and in these dealings, backroom dealings, and who they control and how they do it. And the family is right in your face. Like, they've proven that these guys have the power, the political power in Washington, D.C. and throughout the world. They've proven it. Now think on the other end of it, how many people you don't know, how many people you have never heard of and you never will. You'll never know their names. The things that we know about, we know by happenstance, or we know because they want us to know that.
Well, just look at the list when we found the itinerary and the list of the people who went to Bohemian Grove. It's like hundreds of people, and you've only heard of like 6.
Yeah, you don't know who these people are, and on top of it all, again, that right there is a list of people they want you to know exist.
Yeah, because it's out there.
Because
found
if
it
they
very
didn't,
easily.
the people that they don't want you to know exist aren't on that list. They're not there. They're not the ones signing their names on documents. They're not doing that. It's just implied that they are there. It's the same
100%.
Anywhere throughout the political spectrum. These politicians, you think they're in power. No, they're not in power because you know them. Because there is a face and a name to them.
That makes sense.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And fucking companies like BlackRock, because that was the whole switch to privatization and things like that. Because if this were government doing, then we might have some sort of what do you call that? Where we can Freedom of Information Act, things like that. But with the private company, you never have to. They have no fucking reason to tell you anything. Like, we don't know who's on the board of BlackRock. We don't know the people that are actually that run that fucking. We know who the CEO is. We don't know anybody else.
Larry Fink.
Yeah, and we get to see him as the face.
Yeah. No, it is exactly like that. It's scary, the power that corporations have over our country, over our world. You could say that America today is built off of the power of corporations. That's really what it boils down to. It's not political
corporation
power.
Could be considered a person. Yeah, I think that was the biggest problem. Someone was trying to explain this to me, or I heard this on a podcast. They were talking about different secret societies and things like that, right? Like the OTO and all those things. They're all corporations, right? So all these actually have corporations and things like that, but they're all connected and owned by one corporation. So like the OTO is owned by these same, they were saying that they're owned by the same people that own like the Mormon church and shit. They're all under one fucking corporation, and it's called like Corporation or something stupid like that. And you're like, who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah.
You know, who the fuck are they? You know, like these are the motherfuckers that are running things, like these faceless, nameless monsters that
just like arms dealers. You know, arms dealers fund both sides of the war. Well, that's what corporations do. They invest in both sides of the competition. So, you know, do they own Pepsi or Coke? Well, they own them both.
Yeah,
that's how they have absolute power.
Yeah, that was,
you know,
that was some shocking revelations, finding out, going through BlackRock's shareholder paperwork on the internet and seeing all the stuff that they have, and you're like watching, you go something as simple as going to, you know, just out to eat, and you see a Burger King across the street from McDonald's. They're two different companies that work, you know, that do compete with each other when it comes to, like, this company comes out with, you know, chicken fries, and this one comes out with like chicken wedges, and they're just going back and forth with each other. One's 10 cents cheaper, and the employees are like, look at those assholes at Burger King across the street. And it's the same thing, you know. They're just like, but in reality, the people that own those companies are exactly there might be exactly the same percentage of shares that both of those companies put into one company that funds them. It's bananas.
Yeah.
And even at that high level, when you're talking about BlackRock, their direct competition, which isn't even competition, is Vanguard,
which is the second shareholder of
which is the second highest. Or in other cases, you know, they switch between spot 1 and spot 2. It's spot 1, spot 2, spot 2, you know, back and forth. And then Vanguard invests in BlackRock, and BlackRock invests in Vanguard. So it's like they're melding the lines of their own portfolios so much that you can't fucking tell what's real, who owns what is this? Am I giving money to you or to you? Well, technically you're giving money to all of us. Now, the real question becomes, who owns Vanguard and BlackRock? Because that's one person or one group of people. You know, it is a pyramid. It's a pyramid. You have all these small companies. They're owned by bigger companies. They're owned by bigger companies. They're owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. Now, who owns BlackRock and Vanguard?
Satan.
I don't think we found any information on that. I think
because that's stuff that's off the books.
Where are you going to find that on Google?
Couldn't find that.
You can't even find the board members for Vanguard.
Yeah.
You can't find them. You can't find that information anywhere. It's private.
Even on DuckDuckGo. Bullshit.
Even on DuckDuckGo. Damn it. Even on Google. But to bring up something real quick before that you brought up is Freedom of Information Acts. I think those things are bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Those things are bullshit. So you're telling me, as long as I know what I'm looking for, the government is going to tell me everything I need to know about it? All I got to do is submit this form and I'll get all the insider scoops on everything that you've been doing that's shady and shitty?
Well, yeah, in 37 years.
But either way,
and it's redacted.
They're not going to give it to you. They're not going to give it to you. They're not putting everything out there and saying, yeah, this is available for anybody who wants it. That's bullshit. Freedom of Information Acts will give you stuff that is bullshit in itself.
There's probably a department.
You want to know about this shitty shit that we did back in the 70s? Here's a couple pages about what we did back in the 70s.
It's probably a department within the government that actually writes that shit and puts it out and publishes it.
Half that shit is probably made up.
Not from files that they're like, oh, well, Johnson, get out there and go find me a file from 1976 in December.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, the warehouse is the size of 3 fucking Lowe's. I'm not doing that, man. Like, you know, like
Microsoft Word document with typewriter font.
Yep. He stained the paper.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
They invested
Hooker blood and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Let's throw a little bit of acid in there too from MK Ultra and make it look real believable.
I think Freedom of Information Acts are stupid. I think it's all bullshit. I think they throw you little morsels, but when it comes down to it, if you really, really came across something through whispers, through back channels, through, some sort of source, private source that tells you, hey, the government was doing this and blah blah blah, you should get a Freedom of Information Act request on it, and then you go and request it, and they go, how the fuck does this guy know about that? And then a week later, you're shot in the back 3 times, and they go, oh man, I never saw John as a person who would commit suicide in the back of his head 4 times. I never saw it coming. He loved his wife and his children. Who would have thought that he would have suicided himself 400 times?
Yeah. And they don't even have to do that anymore. They can just be like, and we just put kitty porn on his computer. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
They can do all kinds
exactly.
of shit, dude. They can just, it's pretty wild. They can do whatever the fuck they want.
I'm a hacker
Accidentally
I'm a hacker from Malaysia that took your credit card. Nope, I'm from the CIA.
I accidentally sent a bunker buster to this young man's house. I don't know
It's a new
how.
way of
I don't
getting
know.
swatted.
Sure, where'd that bunker buster go? Iraq? No. It went to Cleveland. It's in some 22-year-old's basement right now. His whole family's gone. Never should have put that Information Act in, huh? I guess we can throw that request in the trash. You won't be needing that one. The CIA. You fun people.
Well, gents, we just passed an hour. That was a lot of fun. We got to do this again.
Yeah, an hour went by quick, huh?
Yeah, we went through all the stages of the conspiratorial world in that one. That was the conspiracy tornado.
Yeah, quite a roller coaster.
I hope I didn't offend your flat Earth fan base. I hope they're not like, Declassified Dave was a piece of shit.
If
Fuck
anything,
that guy.
I did.
Well, gents, if you guys are offended, make sure to hit up Declassified Dave, and tell them everything. No, everybody's chill, dude. I like my audience. Everybody's fucking nice.
Send us comments. We
part.
want to know more.
My name is
that's what it
Mystery Mike, in case you want to identify me as the Globetard.
Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun. I hope your audience is cool too. Yeah, so you guys can always hit me up. Like, I think I'm having a beer with another listener. So anytime people hit me up, like on Telegram or on my email, like if you guys are near Portland, let's grab a beer and hang out. So my email address is realityzars@gmail.com. I'm super approachable. I want to get your emails. I want to talk to you guys. So all that fun stuff.
For sure.
You can
and
find
the
us
same
again,
goes for
Rockfin, all the dumb shit. We're big on Instagram, so hit us up at realityzarspod everywhere. Sorry, go ahead.
No, we are also on Instagram. We're not on Rockfin yet. In due time, we will be. We're currently kind of tied to YouTube, but you can always get us at our email address, contact@hushhushsociety.com. You can go to hushhushsociety.com. As Dave said at the beginning of the show, you can reach us there. We love to get messages, mail, hate mail, good mail, love mail, whatever you want to send us. We will respond to it all in due time. And we appreciate you, Nate, for having us on. It's been great.
Absolutely, gents. Yeah, let's definitely do this again. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
For sure.
All right. I'm going to hit our... Hold on. Did we just get another comment? We did. Okay. That's all right. All right. And later, gents. Bye-bye.